The moment Penelope Whitmore laughed at him, Marcus Devon, Duke of Westmere, knew he was in trouble, though he could not yet name why. It was not the sound of her laughter that unsettled him. It was the way it lingered in the quiet library, warm and careless, as if the rules that governed his life did not exist in that room. The library at Hartwell House had always belonged to the three of them. Tall shelves lined with leather-bound books reached toward the ceiling. Sunlight spilled through high windows, dust dancing in the air. It was the one place where Marcus could forget he was a duke, where Benjamin Whitmore could forget he was an heir, and where Penelope could forget she was expected to be gentle, agreeable, and silent. "Absolutely not," Penelope said, her eyes never lifting from the book resting on her lap. Her dark hair had slipped loose from its pins, a sure sign she had been reading for hours without concern for appearances. "I have plans next month, Benjamin. Real plans, not your schemes." Benjamin leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his grin wide and unapologetic. "We lost last year. Lost to those smug Bavarians who would not stop boasting. I need revenge, and I need you." Marcus watched them from his chair. His posture relaxed by habit, though tension had coiled in his chest the moment Benjamin mentioned taking Penelope across the channel. For 3 years, their annual trip had been sacred. 3 weeks where he was not the Duke of Westmere. 3 weeks where responsibility loosened its grip. "Your brother has a point, Penelope," Marcus said lightly, though his jaw tightened. "But I am not convinced dragging you to a card tournament qualifies as destiny." Penelope finally looked up. Her green eyes met his, sharp and amused. "I was not aware you wanted me there, Your Grace. If memory serves, you explained only last month that these trips were vital to male friendship and should never be spoiled by female presence." "I never used the word spoiled," Marcus said. "You implied it." Benjamin laughed, delighted. "This is exactly why she should come. You play better when she annoys you, Marcus. You get that look like you plan to destroy something, and Penelope sees patterns no one else notices." "I have other obligations," Penelope replied calmly. "Lady Hawthorne invited me to her estate." "A reading circle." Benjamin groaned. "You can read anywhere. When will you see real life, if not now?" "I am perfectly satisfied with my life." Marcus shifted, discomfort growing sharper. He should have agreed with her refusal. He should have wanted her to stay behind. Instead, the idea of 3 weeks without her voice, her sharp wit, her constant challenge, felt wrong in a way he could not explain. "I am against this plan," Marcus said firmly. "Penelope does not wish to come, and I will not spend my holiday watching over her." Penelope rose slowly, placing her book aside with care. "You believe I am a burden. I believe you are Benjamin's sister, and therefore our responsibility." Her smile was thin and dangerous. "Then I shall certainly stay home." "Good," Marcus said. "Except now I am reconsidering," she added calmly. "I dislike being told what I cannot handle." Benjamin's grin returned at once. Victory was near. "What will it take to convince you?" "The complete architectural history collection from Harper and Sons," Penelope said. Benjamin laughed. "Done." Marcus said nothing. He already knew he had lost. 2 weeks later, the journey began. 4 days of travel carried them farther from New York society and closer to a freedom Marcus had once embraced without thought. Inns grew louder. Rules loosened. By the time they reached the coast and boarded the ship bound for France, even Penelope had softened, her excitement peeking through her careful manners. Marcus kept his distance. He always placed Benjamin between them. He found excuses to inspect luggage, speak with porters, check arrangements. On the ship, there was no escape. "You are being ridiculous," Benjamin said bluntly as they stood on deck, the French coast emerging through morning mist. "Whatever this is, end it. We need her." "I am focused on the tournament," Marcus replied. Benjamin studied him with unsettling clarity. "You have barely spoken to her in 4 days. That is not like you." Marcus said nothing. When Penelope joined them on deck, her face bright with wonder, Marcus felt something crack inside him. "Is it always this beautiful?" she asked. "Wait until the city," Benjamin said. "It is loud and chaotic," Marcus added. "You must stay close." She gave him a look. "I am not a child. And here, I believe you are just Marcus." He turned away too quickly. Marseille overwhelmed Penelope from the moment they arrived. The port buzzed with voices, color, and motion. Spices filled the air. Buildings glowed in warm tones. No one looked twice at her. No one knew her name. Their hotel was modest but elegant. From her window, she watched the street below, laughter drifting upward, music echoing between buildings. This was not borrowed freedom. This felt real. That evening, Benjamin led them to a crowded cafe alive with sound. People of every class mixed freely. Wine flowed. Music played. Penelope felt herself loosen, laugh more easily, breathe more deeply. Marcus watched her, his restraint thinning. "You remember when you convinced Benjamin the North Tower was haunted," he said at last. Penelope laughed. "It worked." "You are merciless," Benjamin said. She sipped her wine, bold now. "You should have paid attention during the house tour." Marcus smiled despite himself. For a moment, the world narrowed to the table between them. Later, they met the tournament host, a sharp-eyed Frenchman who welcomed Marcus and Benjamin with thinly veiled boredom. When his gaze settled on Penelope, it sharpened. "You look like a player," he said. "I only observe," Penelope replied. "Pity," he said. "The tournament begins in 3 days." That night, Marcus stood in the hotel courtyard staring at the fountain when Penelope joined him. "You do not want me here," she said quietly. "No," he admitted. "Why?" "Because things are different." She stepped closer. Different how? He could not answer. He left instead. The following days passed in a blur of observation and strategy. Penelope watched matches, noting patterns, signals, weaknesses. Marcus listened despite himself. Her insight was precise and devastating. "You see things others miss," he told her one night. "You never noticed because no one thought to ask." Her words stayed with him. The night before the semifinals, the city felt charged. Victory felt close. Tension wrapped around Marcus like a noose. At a private celebration, Penelope slipped away from the hotel and followed the sound of music down a narrow street marked by a red lantern. Inside, the air was thick with laughter and closeness. Couples leaned together without shame. Cards and wine and desire mixed freely, and there was Marcus. He stood against the wall, relaxed, smiling at a woman who touched his arm as if it belonged there. Something sharp burned in Penelope's chest. She did not leave. The stranger offered her a drink. She accepted. Then a hand closed around her wrist. Marcus's voice was calm and cold. "She is otherwise engaged." He pulled her into a narrow hall, pressed her against the wall, his hands braced beside her shoulders. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "Seeing what you escape to every year. This is not a place for you." "Why?" she asked. "Because you do not want me to see you are human." His eyes darkened. "That is exactly why." "Then stop protecting me." His voice dropped. "If I stop, I will not be able to stop." Her breath caught. "Who asked you to?" The air between them tightened. "Penelope," he warned. She looked up at him, fearless now. "We are already broken, Marcus." Why pretend otherwise? For a long moment, he did nothing. Then he kissed her. Hard. Desperate, like a rule shattered beyond repair. And in that narrow hallway in a foreign city, everything Marcus had sworn to control slipped through his fingers. He did not pull away. Not yet. Marcus pulled back first, his breathing uneven, his forehead resting against Penelope's. The noise from the room beyond the hallway pressed in on them, laughter and music reminding him sharply where they were and what they had done. "This cannot happen again," he said quietly. Penelope's heart was still racing. Her lips tingled where his had been. "Then why did you kiss me like that?" "Because I am weak," Marcus said, "and because I have wanted to for far longer than I should." She did not smile. She did not tease him. She simply looked at him, open and steady, then stopped pretending this is only my doing. His jaw tightened. "Benjamin would never forgive me." "Benjamin does not own me," she replied, "and neither do the rules you hide behind." For a moment, he looked like a man standing at the edge of a cliff. Then he stepped back, putting distance between them. "You need to go back to the hotel," he said, "before I forget who I am." Penelope hesitated, then nodded. "But this is not finished." "No," Marcus said softly, "it is not." They returned separately. That night, sleep refused them both. The next morning was agony. At breakfast, Marcus barely looked at her. When he did, his gaze dropped too quickly, as if eye contact itself was dangerous. Penelope sat across from him, every movement careful, her mind replaying the kiss again and again. Benjamin noticed nothing. He talked excitedly about the semifinals, about strategy, about the Bavarian couple they would face again. During the match that afternoon, Penelope forced herself to focus. The Bavarians were sharp and disciplined, but she saw the same signals as before. She leaned close to Marcus once, just enough to whisper, 2 taps before a strong hand. "Watch his eyes." He nodded. All concentration. They won by a narrow margin. The crowd applauded. Marcus crossed to her immediately after, his voice low. "You saved us again." "You played it," she said. He held her gaze for a heartbeat too long, then stepped away. That night, Marcus did not go to the celebration. He claimed fatigue. Penelope lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her chest tight with questions she could not ask. The pattern continued. By day, distance. By night, silence heavy with restraint, until Marcus broke. 3 nights later, Penelope stood alone by the courtyard fountain, convinced he would not come. When footsteps sounded behind her, she did not turn. "This is a terrible idea," Marcus said. She faced him. "Then why are you here?" "Because I cannot stay away." He crossed the space between them and kissed her again, slower this time, deeper. Penelope clutched his coat, all composure gone. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark and unguarded. "We must be careful," he said. "If Benjamin finds out now, it will destroy everything." "Then do not let him find out," she said simply. They agreed to secrecy. Public distance. Private truth. For the next days, they lived between worlds. In public rooms, Marcus was polite and distant. In passing hallways, his fingers brushed hers. At night, he met her in shadows, stolen moments that burned brighter for their risk. Penelope had never felt so alive, never felt so seen. The finals arrived sooner than expected. The Spanish brothers were confident, aggressive, dangerous. The room buzzed with anticipation. Penelope watched closely, noting tension between the brothers. She whispered her observations during breaks. Marcus trusted her completely. They won. The final card hit the table and the crowd erupted. Benjamin laughed, shouting, clapping Marcus on the back. Money changed hands. Glasses were raised. Marcus did not look at the crowd. He looked at Penelope. Later that night, in the chaos of celebration, Marcus found her alone on a balcony overlooking the street. "We did it," he said. "We did," she replied. He took her hands. "Penelope, this is no longer just desire." Her breath caught. "I know. I am falling in love with you." The words were quiet but solid, like a vow spoken too soon. She smiled through sudden tears. "I think I already have." They kissed beneath the stars, a promise forming between them without words. But promises are fragile things. 2 days later, Penelope sat at a cafe with a woman she had befriended, laughing over stories. When the conversation turned casual, careless words slipped from her mouth, shaped by fear more than truth. "It is only a holiday romance," she said lightly. "Something fun. Nothing serious." She did not see Marcus standing just inside the doorway. He heard every word. The distance returned instantly, Cold, polite, unreachable. Penelope felt it before she understood it. His eyes no longer sought hers. His voice was formal. That night, he did not come. When she finally cornered him the next morning, desperation edged her voice. "What did I do?" "You were honest," he said flatly. "I was protecting us." "By erasing me," he replied. Pain flickered beneath his control. "I heard you. I know where I stand." "That is not true." "It is exactly true." 2 days later, they returned to America in silence. What they had built in freedom collapsed under misunderstanding, pride, and fear, and neither of them knew yet how deeply the damage would cut. The return to New York felt colder than the crossing over the ocean. The city rose before them, familiar and unforgiving, its streets bound by rules Penelope now felt pressing against her chest with every breath. Marcus did not visit Hardwell House. Days passed, then a week. Benjamin noticed. He complained at first, then grew quiet, watching his sister with narrowed eyes. Penelope moved through the house like a ghost, answering politely, smiling when expected, her nights spent awake with memories she could not escape. She replayed the cafe conversation again and again, each careless word a wound she wished she could pull back into her mouth. She had meant to protect what they had. Instead, she had destroyed it. Marcus buried himself in duty. The Duke of Westmere was visible everywhere again. At council meetings, at dinners, at events where his presence was required and his heart was not. He told himself he had done the sensible thing. Love, built on secrecy and fear, could never survive the world they lived in. Still, he found himself looking for her in every room. 2 weeks after their return, the Whitmores hosted a small dinner. The guest list was harmless enough. Family, friends, familiar names. Marcus's mother insisted he attend. Penelope learned he was coming when her maid mentioned his name while fastening her gown. Her hands shook. At dinner, Marcus was perfect. He spoke easily. He smiled at the right moments. He addressed Penelope as Miss Whitmore, his tone distant and correct. It hurt more than anger ever could. After the meal, Benjamin drew Marcus into the study. Penelope followed, her resolve brittle but firm. "I need to speak with him," she said. Benjamin looked between them, suspicion sharpening. Alone. He hesitated, then nodded and left. The door closed. Silence filled the room. Marcus stood by the window, his back to her. "Please," Penelope said. "I cannot lose you like this." "You already did," he replied. She stepped closer. "I lied because I was afraid of scandal, afraid of Benjamin, afraid of saying it aloud and breaking it. You broke it anyway." Tears slid down her cheeks. "What we had was real, was it?" Marcus asked quietly. Or was it only real when no one was watching? She reached for him. He did not move. "I heard you say I meant nothing. I did not mean it. How am I supposed to know that now?" Before she could answer, the door opened. Benjamin stood there, his face pale and angry. "How long?" he demanded. The truth settled into the room. Penelope spoke first. "We fell in love." Marcus did not deny it. "I love her." The words shocked them all. Benjamin stared at Marcus, then at his sister. Rage warred with disbelief. "You are my friend, Marcus." "I still am. And I would never touch her without intending to honor her." Silence stretched. Finally, Benjamin spoke. "I need time." Marcus left. Penelope waited. 3 days passed before Benjamin came to her. He looked tired, older. "I do not forgive you yet," he said. "But I know Marcus. If he says he loves you, he means it. And if you love him, then I will not stand in your way." Relief broke through her like light. Marcus returned that evening. They met in the garden, beneath fading autumn leaves. "I was wrong," he said. "I let pride speak louder than love." "I was wrong too," she replied. "I should have been brave." He took her hands. "I cannot promise ease, Only truth. That is all I want. When he kissed her this time, it was slow and certain, not stolen, but claimed. Their courtship was proper. Public. Talked about. Society whispered. Marcus did not care. He proposed in the same library where their story had begun. Penelope said yes without hesitation. They married in the spring. Benjamin stood beside Marcus. Their parents smiled through tears. Months later, Marcus surprised Penelope with travel plans. "France again," he said. She laughed. With no secrets this time. No rules, he agreed. Together, and this time, nothing stood between them.